Hello folks, hey, welcome to my channel. Today I am talking about the Model 52 Winchester and how the Winchester Model 52 come to be. And it is all encapsulated in this book by Herbert Houze, who is a curator at the Wyoming County Museum in Winchester. In its pages you'll find numbers of pictures and descriptions about the things that happened for the development of this rifle. And the title of it is the Winchester Model 52 Perfection in Design. And I will have to agree that at the time the Winchester Model 52 was a perfected bolt action rifle. It had been designed from a center fire Winchester rifle called the Model D, and in 1916-17 they had taken the Model D and they had configured it to shoot a .22 long rifle and what was their experimental number 111. And from that iteration, there were samples sent to Colonel William Townsend, who reviewed the rifle and really liked the rifle and wrote Winchester a nice letter about how he thought that this was going to be a fantastic training tool and a wonderful gallery gun and a very accurate one. And in 1919 was the first time that they had designated the rifle the Model 52. Some of the pictures that you see here are of the Model A version of the 52. So how it would start, it would be, serial number 1 through 3, 4, 5, and 6. And these would have, as it got further into production, the first ones didn't have the A, then they had the B, and then the C model come in the late 40s, early 50s, and then the D model into the late 60s and 70s, and finally the last iteration was the E model, and that particular model we're going to shoot towards the end of this video. So a friend of mine does have an E model. It's kind of a rare rifle. But you can tell right away when you're shooting the thing just how tight the action is, when you're putting a round in here. Of course, they're single shots. They don't have the magazine. But you can tell when you run the bolt that there is a giant difference between the Model B, maybe the C, and the E rifle, which was the final iteration of the Model 52. We can take a look now at a picture of the Model C. The only thing different in the Model C from the Model B that I can see, other than the round receiver, was that they had adjusted the trigger. Of course, the Model B came out with the speed lock, and the Model C had the speed lock, but they also had an adjustable trigger. You could see it, and in addition for an oil spot on the bottom trigger guard, and you can see that there. And the Model B, which I have here, is I think, a beautiful rifle. I thought at one time that somebody had checkered it, and they just took the regular stock and checkered it. But I find now through the book that you could order them checkered, and this is the pattern. I can show you in the picture. This is the pattern that they used to checker the rifle. So this is probably a special order rifle. You could only order them checkered like that. And you can see on the front also that this is checkered. So more than likely is a factory checkered rifle. As we move into the C, like I had said, they had the motion trigger and the sensitive, more adjustable trigger. A lot of the Bs, I would say, and a lot of the Cs had aftermarket triggers put in them over the years. And that was in an attempt to make the rifle a little easier to shoot and a little bit more accurate. Also with the Model C and its adjustable trigger, it still didn't really, I think, come close to the aftermarket triggers in the 60s like Canjar. A lot of these, Canjars had made triggers specifically for the Model 52, and this rifle does have a Canjar trigger, and they're very light and very dependable. And they're so touchy but you know, you can bang the rifle around pretty good and it won't go off. They're very well made triggers. This rifle, I have here a group that I had shot at 100 yards with this rifle, and you can see that it is, you know, it's a pretty tight group. I think there was 8 shots here. One went high and I pulled one, but you know, 8 shots at a little over an inch at 100 yards. These rifles are still pretty amazing. At 50 yards, you can see some of these groups that I'd shot with this rifle at 50 yards are extraordinarily tight. I mean, one holers, you know, it's just, these rifles were really, you know, really accurate. So the Model 52E is my friend's rifle, and we're going to take a trip out to the range and we're going to shoot it. Now, I'm not shooting what I think. I'm not shooting ammo that rifle likes. I really didn't test it. We took some of the cheaper yellow SK and I shot it through the rifle, and we took 10 shots, and you can see that here. This is the Model 52E we're shooting, and we're going to take it down there and see how she goes. Second one down, right target. Ten shots on the E model. I mean, that's what it does. It's at 50 yards. Everything's in the 1-inch circle. But like I said, I don't think that this particular rifle liked that ammo. But when it did start to shoot, you could see a lot of holes in the very center. You can't even see where it hits. It's just hitting in the same hole. Now, you know, I could have pulled the rifle, or I might not have been, you know, there's a little skill that goes into trying to get these in one hole, but the rifle definitely has, you know, it has the potential to be a one-hole rifle if you have the right ammunition. And these old rifles are very, very accurate. So, you know, that's my story about the Winchester Model 52. I hope you enjoyed the illustrations in the book. And if you have a Model 52, leave a comment below. Tell us about your experience with it and how accurate it is. Let me know how, you know, what your experiences are with the rifle, and, you know, anything else you'd like to comment on. So that's my video today about the Model 52. I appreciate you joining me, and I'll see you again next week.